Welcome, Melissa, to Casey Ezel Writer Life, to my channel. And welcome to all of you viewers out there in YouTube land. Today, I'm so excited to bring you something kind of cool. This is my friend. She's over here. This is my friend, Melissa Olthoff. And recently, Melissa and I both attended DragonCon. In fact, today is Thursday, the 5th. And I got home yesterday and Melissa got home the day before. So this is real recent. I wanted to record this right away so that we could give you guys kind of like the best impressions before, it's lost to time and daily life and motherhood and all of those things. So
the bags under our eyes.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're still recovering, as you could tell. Like, I didn't get con crud, but my voice is like all kind of cracked and stuff. So, so please, give us a little bit of grace on that. But yeah, let's. This is going to be our DragonCon After Action Report with Melissa Olthoff. Hooray!
Have fun.
So fun fact, Melissa and I, this is not our first DragonCon together. In fact,
nope.
When was our first DragonCon together, Melissa? Do you remember what year it was?
Normally, I would say we don't do time math, but we also break our rules all the time.
We do.
We're feral. 2006, I think, was our first DragonCon. And
yeah, I think you're right.
That's how we met.
Actually,
mutual friends.
That's right. That's right. Our mutual friends, one of whom is author Casey Moores, kind of connected us all at DragonCon, and we became friends and lost touch and then regained touch. And but the reason I brought that up is because like DragonCon in 2006 was a very different experience for me than DragonCon in 24.
God, again, no time math. Dang. But yeah, DragonCon changed. DragonCon itself has changed so much over the course of those years. It's grown bigger and crazier and more awesome somehow.
Yeah.
But we also
for sure.
Fans back then.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So my first DragonCon was 2001, and I felt like I'd stepped into an alternate universe, peopled with my people of like fans who loved all the geeky things that I was still like a little shy about telling people in real life that I was into. And so when you came, we just went to party, basically. We were very young and very cute, especially you. You were super adorable. And, I remember it being more about like hanging out with friends and dressing up in costumes and cute outfits and, going to see like music shows because they have those every year. And what we do now that you're writing professionally and I'm writing professionally, it's a very different experience.
100%.
Yeah. Tell me about that a little bit. Like what was the thing that stood out to you the most as being like, this would never happen in 2006?
So I remember like a lot, even like just the beginning, the prep has changed, right? Like we would coordinate outfits. We would have like coordinated like group costumes planned. We'd have outfit changes planned for like each day.
And schedules. Do you remember we would schedule?
Yes. I mean, we had fun with that stuff, but we also had no like real schedule, right? We went there to party, like the concerts were scheduled, but otherwise it was like, well, we're going to go check out the vendor hall. We're going to go do this. We're going to get some food. It was very chaotic and relaxed, and just we're there for like a 3, 4, 5 day Halloween party. Yeah. And it's like, all right, we got to plan our outfits, but we're planning them for like, a little bit more of the professional author side. So oh God, I have nothing to wear. And
right.
It's just like, what, I don't know what to do. And, it's a lot more scheduled. We have panels now. We have professional commitments, interviews, author signings. I mean, it's so much fun, but it's so different than what we did back in the early 2000s, which makes
for sure
so old to say the early 2000s.
It's better than the late 1900s.
Right.
just cling to that. Yeah, no, I fully agree, right? Like even just thinking about the clothing choices, and I'm glad you brought that up because, rather than focusing on, okay, I need to make sure that I pack all of the pieces for my costume or all of the pieces for this, themed ensemble that I'm going to wear with all of my girlfriends. It's more like, okay, I need to pack all of the correct t-shirts for, that I want to wear, and make sure that I, I want to look professional, but I also want to look fun, and I want to match my brand, which is kind of a little bit snarky, a little bit badass, a little bit nerdy. And yeah, it's just wild to me how different it is. And you kind of did this. And so like you and I are both rocking the Ben Yallow fan club t-shirt. Do we want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I am always down for talking about Ben Yallow, folks. He is amazing. If you have not met this older gentleman, he is like an icon. He's the historian of fandom, and he is just a wonderful person to know. And there is absolutely a story behind why we have these shirts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I first met Ben at a Liberty Con. I'm not even sure when it was, but it was many years ago. Wow, some years ago. I'm trying not to be that old. And my, Ben was there at DragonCon this year too, and we got the opportunity to hang out with him, and he shared some of his stories with us about what it was like at Worldcon back in the 70s and the 80s, and what some of his favorite Worldcons were, and what some of his least favorite Worldcons were, and he's such a great guy, such an institution in the world of science fiction fandom. And yeah, so this year we actually got these shirts for Liberty, but we reprised them for DragonCon this year because we just wanted Ben to know that we support him and love him, and we honor him as the elder statesman of sci-fi fandom that he truly is. So.
Yeah, and it's absolutely true. We are 100% fans of Ben Yallow. I believe Casey here is the president of his fan club,
self-appointed president of the Ben Yallow fan club. That's right.
And nobody argued it.
No, that was the great part. They were like, oh, "Okay, cool.
This checks out." I mean, I have no issues because seriously, if you ever have a chance to sit down with Ben, take it, because listening to his stories it's surreal almost, because he talks about people that authors that have passed on that they were people he knew and sat down at bars with and conventions with. It's so cool.
Yeah, it really is. And if you have no idea who we're talking about, don't worry about it. Just understand that DragonCon, the bottom line is that DragonCon, one of the coolest things about DragonCon is that it brings together just this intensely diverse group of fans, whether you're a fan of anime and costuming, or science fiction, movies, or science fiction books, or fantasy, or, Lord of the Rings, or national defense wargaming, which they have an event at DragonCon every year.
And science panels and
incredible science panels. Like, people present scientific papers at DragonCon. There's nothing like it. And it was my first con and remains my favorite con to this day. I think that I would go even if I wasn't going as a professional. I would still go as a fan, just because it's such an insane experience. And it's a wild party too, right? Like, I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I mean, it's a great time. People are there to have a good time, and that sort of attitude is really infectious. So let's talk a little bit about one of my other favorite pieces of DragonCon, the food. So this is a little weird, I'm not gonna lie, because when we first started going back in my late 20s and your early 20s, back in the early 2000s, I feel like we ate most of the time. Well, first of all, we slept real late, so we were usually only eating like in the afternoon, and it was mostly at the mall food court there at Peachtree Center. And I remember a lot of Chick-fil-A. I remember a fair amount of like Dairy Queen ice cream.
Real healthy.
Yeah, yeah. Occasionally we would get yummy, yummy sushi. But not, I don't remember there being like nearly as many options as there
No,
were
it
this
was like
year
your
and
average
in
food
years
court.
past. Yeah, yeah, but it's really grown, right? And so this year, I think I had a, like amazing ramen, like as good ramen as I have had since returning from Japan. I had
Mhm.
at the DragonCon at the Peachtree Center food court.
Right, like, there's, like, a Cubano place, it's, like, the
Oh
best
yeah,
Cuban sandwiches, like, I think they're amazing, and then Jason Cordova is like, "These are the best Cuban sandwiches I've had outside of Miami." Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's it's amazing. The sushi was excellent, like,
Yeah, yummy, yummy, always on point, always
it
on
is like
point.
a bougie food court now, it's
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's a bougie food court, but it's still, I mean, it's still like affordable, right? Which is great for people who are spending all this money to go to DragonCon. I didn't eat there this year, but my husband's a big fan, and we usually get there, get one of the meals there. But there's a place called Aviva that's like Mediterranean food.
nice.
It's super good. Their line is always super long, but yeah, for like on Sunday afternoon when you're like, oh my God, please give me some damn vegetables because I've been partying for 4 days. Like, Aviva's a good choice.
You can only have so many mochas or Red Bulls before you're like,
That's right. Before your body is like, excuse me, ma'am, you are no longer 24.
"Nope, let's try something healthy with vegetables."
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna need some nutrients up in this piece.
Mhm, mhm. Yup. But so good. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
We
Oh,
also can we talk for a minute about Atlanta Breakfast Club?
oh
Oh
my
my
god!
God.
That is like the
So
best find ever. Chicken and waffles
I
and just
know.
there you can't go wrong with their menu. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So the story with Atlanta Breakfast Club was last year. Author Joelle Presby, who writes hard science fiction, uh, she was there. So this year she was there, but she was there with her husband Andy Presby, and they had their own combinations. But last year she stayed with Melissa and Marisa in their room at the Westin, and
Mhm.
she actually suggested, "Hey girls, do you guys want to meet up and like go offsite for breakfast one morning?" And she just found, I guess I don't know if she Googled it or whatever, but she found the Atlanta Breakfast Club, and it was within walking distance from where, kind of the epicenter of DragonCon down there on Peachtree Street.
Yeah.
And so we walked last year. This year we Ubered because one of our members was injured, had a foot injury, and walking a mile wasn't a good idea.
Ooh.
But it is within walking distance, and oh my God, the food is so good.
Oh,
Best, like amazing cinnamon rolls that are served as an appetizer, and then I had the most amazing chicken and waffles I've ever had.
so good.
And yeah, just
Amazing.
everything was amazing. So yeah, we went to ABC twice, I think,
We did. We
and we
actually
were
talked about going every morning, and then we decided that we'll die if we do that.
yeah, yeah, it was a lot of food.
It's not a
But
small
oh my
portion,
gosh,
y'all. It's
yeah,
like here's a giant plate of chicken and waffles. We
yep,
had enough for
yep.
lunch that day.
Yeah, that's what I did too. That's what I did too. But yeah, phenomenal food. Um, and then, okay, so other than eating and hanging out, uh, one of the things that we do now that we're both, now that we're there as professionals, is we actually do programming. Like we sit on panels and stuff. And you did that too this year as well. Tell me what was your favorite panel as a professional that you sat on, and your favorite panel that you participated in or watched, I guess, as an audience member.
So that first one is super easy because I only had one panel this year, which I was not sad about at all, guys, because it was, and I kid you not, the power of friendship and networking. And holy crap,
Yeah.
is that right up my alley or what?
Yeah.
Very My Little Pony-esque, like the power of friendship. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like when we go to conventions, even something as big as DragonCon, we're going to. I know that some people don't like the word network, but that's what we're doing. But in a professional, friendly, like, oh my god, I love this geeky thing. You love this geeky thing. Did we just
Yeah.
best friends? Yes, we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's a lot of those. Do we just become best friends moments at DragonCon? Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh my God, you love Gundam Wing. I love Gundam Wing. We need to talk about this. It's super fun. That panel was a blast because, a lot of things with writing and with being a pro can be a little bit lonely or a little bit intimidating. And holy crap, is this so much more fun and supportive when you have built a network of people that you can count on and, be friends with. So you can go, hey, let's go to a breakfast place a mile away. Like, yep, I'm in. Chicken and waffles. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it was a good panel. We had some really good audience participation. And, we tried to keep it on the joyful side, right? Like, here's like the positives of doing this. And I think the key point for that panel was you have to be genuine, right? Like with all this stuff, you have to be genuine, be yourself. We're all geeks of one level or another.
Hi, Finn.
My puppy says hi through like a closed door, a wall. Oh man, but that was my favorite.
Yeah, cool. All right, and what about the one that you attended as an audience member?
So there were a lot that I went to. I went to some of yours. I went to some of Marisa Wolf's. I went to like the Alona and Gordon Andrews Q&A panel, which was a blast to sit in because they're one of my favorite urban fantasy authors. But hands down, my favorite where, holy crap, I walked away with my ribs hurting from laughing so hard was the Second Contact improv panel that Rob Ham's speaker that he put on. It was amazing. It was so ridiculous and over the top and funny, and partly because of who the panelists were, because we had David Weber as the alien ambassador, Chuck Gannon as the interpreter for the alien ambassador, Jason Cordova as the human interpreter, and then Marisa Wolf as the human ambassador. And you had Jason and Chuck like rolling a die, like to figure out how accurate their interpretations were going to be. And as an audience, we just got to sit back and listen to this like game of telephone where it was just Jason played up his facial expressions perfectly every time he rolled. He was like, ooh.
I was in that one, and there were a couple of times when he rolled, and you could hear him whisper into the mic, "Oh no!"
And somehow Chuck Gannon manages to keep a straight face throughout all this until towards the end. Then he finally broke. But up until then, I was sitting next to Katie Cross, and we were like, "How is he keeping a straight face?" As we're falling out of our chairs.
Yeah.
David Weber Rick rolling an entire panel.
He did. He Rick rolled the whole panel.
It was amazing. So, like the end of the panel, like, everybody's going to do their next thing. And I walk up to the front and say, "Good job, guys." And speaker looks at me. He's like, my favorite part of that panel was watching your face. Don't ask me to play poker because this face tells you everything.
I really enjoyed that panel too. That was a lot of fun. I also kind of laughed myself silly. Especially like you said, Chuck Gannon keeping a straight face while making not really dirty, just slightly spicy jokes. But including David Weber. And then there was this whole like Spice Girls thing happening, and
and I need a hero. I'm holding out.
And I need a hero. Yeah, a little Bonnie Tyler. A lot of great, 80s, 90s pop references thrown in there.
Marisa just like leaning back, like yawning because her character was pretend to be exhausted.
Right. You need a nap, which I mean, by that point in the con probably wasn't untrue.
This was like late night, like 10 o'clock panel, and we're all like,
It's DragonCon, like overall as a whole, DragonCon is so much fun, but it is 100% a marathon, not a sprint. That's great. So my favorites of the ones that I moderated or was on as a speaker, my favorite one was the After Dark on Saturday, I want to say. It was in the sci-fi literature track, and it was Total Jerks in Sci-Fi. A-holes we love to hate. And it was characters, not real people. we weren't talking shit about other authors in sci-fi, but yeah, we did something similar at MarsCon back in January, and with Larry Correa and Heather Hollow and you. And this was a totally different panel, but same topic, basically the same questions, but we went in a completely different direction. And it was still super fun and kind of a little bit rowdy, and there was a lot of laughter and stuff. But it was just neat to see how like different panelists would take, a panel topic and kind of go at it from a different angle. And yeah, it was super cool. Got to meet some new people that I hadn't met before. Also, were on that panel, so that was really fun.
Benjamin Willis did a great man performance. It was hilarious.
Right. Well, and then also the cherry on top of that particular panel was author Darren Kennedy, he's a medical doctor. He's like a family practice doctor. That's his day job. And all of his comments throughout the time were so funny and so barbed. It was
so mildly delivered.
Right. Yeah, a couple of anatomical things regarding the whole a-hole piece of it. I mean, it was really
as one does.
Yeah, as one does. Again, to be clear, this was an after dark panel, so it was after 10 p.m. Sort of by DragonCon custom, panels after 10 p.m. are, underage people. They're not usually in there.
A little raunchier.
A little rowdy. Yeah, a little bit rowdy. But it was a great time. And then of panels that I attended, I think my favorite one was your Power of Friendship panel. Because again, it was such a good time. It was fun to listen to. Plus, I have a confession, and I'm just going to put it out there on the internet, that like oftentimes when you or Marisa or one of my friends is sitting on a panel, I know that you guys have your phones out because you have notes on them or whatever. I kind of take advantage of that, and sometimes I'll text you guys.
100%. This girl likes to test our ability to keep our faces straight, or at least tackling and make sure it fits with the panel and not the phone.
And I don't know. Maybe that's rude. But it's always like about what's going on in the panel and stuff. So I don't know. Again, come at me if you need to. But that was a lot of fun. Was texting that during that panel. I was texting Marisa because I figured she would move it over to where you could see it.
It was moderating it. Did a great job.
Yeah, she was impromptu moderating it too. She didn't know she was moderating it until because it wasn't on her schedule. It wasn't on like the badge that she was given. It wasn't in the program book. It wasn't in the app. It was
a slip.
It was just a slip. But which again, like, and don't get me wrong, the volunteers and the track staff of all of the tracks that we participated in are fantastic people. And we love them. And I know she was happy to moderate for them. It just sometimes things like that, get missed. It's not a big deal. So, and Maurice is a great moderator. She's really good at it.
She is. I've moderated one panel, so I'm still very much taking notes whenever Casey or Marisa or holy crap speaker, when he moderates, my goodness, I take actual notes, not just mental ones. Like, so that's how you handle that situation. Mm-hmm. Okay, that works. I like it.
So if you're unfamiliar, Speaker to Lab Animals is kind of his nickname, but this is author Rob Hampson that we're talking about. He wrote The Moon in the Desert from Bane and the Rogel series in the Four Horsemen universe. He's another one of these, like, something badass by day and badass author by night. He's a neuroscientist. And he speaks often at scientific conferences and presentations and things like that. And he's just fantastic at moderating discussions. And when I first started doing panels, back when I first started writing professionally, I actually asked him, I was like, hey, can you give me some tips on how to moderate? Because I noticed at certain cons, DragonCon is not one of them, but at certain cons, they don't actually designate a moderator. And so you're in there in the first 5 minutes of every panel is super uncomfortable as all of the panelists kind of look around and be like, well, who's doing it? And I just decided that, okay, well, if I'm in that situation, I'll just go ahead and volunteer so that I know that at least there is someone moderating, but I want to make sure that I do it well. So I found the best moderator I knew, and that was Rob. I was like, Rob, all right, let's sit down. Let's go over this because I need to know how do you do this skillfully, and you're the best in the business at it. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to work with him. Speaking of the power of friendship, we did a lot of time hanging out. That was an unfortunate pause. I'm sorry. I have never done time. We spent a lot lot of time.
No ghosts, no jail. Nope.
Right. No prison. We spent a lot of time at DragonCon just hanging out, right? Like I think, hanging out in the hotel bar of the Westin Peachtree, which is the hotel we were staying in. And then also in the hospitality suite run by Bain Books. Talk to me a little bit about some of your favorite hangout moments and what you like best about hanging out at DragonCon.
So one of my favorite things for BarCon, which is what we call when you're hanging out at the bar at any convention, and specifically the Westin here, is that you never know who's going to walk up, right? You sit down, hopefully with a group of people and even if you don't, if they're there as authors, sit down, hang out, have a conversation, get a drink of your choice. Usually water for me at that point in the day because I can't only drink mochas, right? There's a limit. I love how chaotic and how just welcoming it all is, right? Because BarCon is you could talk with anybody. At one point I was talking with David Weber. I was talking with some folks that I knew from Superstars writing seminar, our group of friends. And it's just okay, I've got to go do this panel. And then somebody else comes in and takes their seat. And it's just this rotating group of chaos and goodwill and fun. Mm-hmm. That's always a good time, just being able to talk with people. It's not just talking about the convention or talking about writing or the business stuff. It's I heard people talking about football games and, the Deadpool movie and just all sorts of things because we have it's fun finding those things that you have in common, right?
Yeah.
It's also fun having a break from talking about the author stuff and the panels and the hectic schedule. So that's definitely a bonus for me. Whatever convention we're at is just hanging at the bar and having a good time with folks. The B-Suite is it's lovely to hang out there because it's a smaller location. It's quieter. It's a great way, whether you're talking the Bain Suite or a room party, for instance. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to get a break from the noise because it is loud. And it does
get loud,
right? And you don't really notice the noise until you're out of it. So it's great to have quieter conversations or, for instance, hanging out till 3 a.m. on Saturday and definitely not being quiet about it. I have never laughed so hard or for so long. I'm pretty sure I gave myself heartburn from laughing so hard. Did not do that, but it was probably one of my favorite moments of the entire convention was just hanging out in the suite Saturday night after all of the late panels were done, where we're just with a group of friends and authors and Tony Weiskopf was there. And it was just lovely to relax and just tell silly stories and jokes. And just some of us were sitting on the floor. And that, by the way, folks, is wonderful about DragonCon. Because you know what? Nobody cares if you sit on the floor. You are on your feet. You are walking 6+ miles a day. Plop your butt on the floor. And if there's no seats available, nobody is going to look at you sideways.
Right. Yeah.
Your back might look at it ways later, but
right.
Not 20.
100%. And also, this is one of those yes and moments, right? The other thing that I love about BarCon and hanging out is just you can talk about your dog or your kids or whatever. you also can talk about writing and networking. Well, I mean, you're networking just by being there, but you can talk about publishing opportunities and stuff. We got to hang out with John Harkness, who is the publisher of Falstaff Books. He is phenomenal. I love him. He's been on the channel before. We've been friends for years, but it was really cool to get to connect with him and to kind of hear about like, what's your year looking like? What do you, what's coming out with the press? What are you interested in? What are you looking for? Yep. Same thing with the guys from Athon Books. Talked with them about a lot of that kind of stuff. Talked with the guys from Shadow Alley Press just briefly, not as much as I would have liked, but it is really, I have heard authors say that they don't go to DragonCon because they feel like they don't get anything out of it, and that's fine for them. Because everyone's experience is different, and I respect that. For me, though, I have found that going to DragonCon has been like every single opportunity I've received in my career has resulted directly from me attending DragonCon, from meeting people at DragonCon, from networking with people at DragonCon, from connecting with people at DragonCon. And really, I think that's the bottom line, is that DragonCon is a phenomenal opportunity to make connections with people, whether it's over a shared love of Gundam Wing, or, the fact that you're both interested in sort of the rising genres of lit RPG and progression fantasy, or, over the fact that, you walked 6 miles today and your feet hurt, but you've got a whole bunch of panels tomorrow, or whatever. Or you were in a panel and you had one obnoxious fan who would not shut up and let other people take the floor, because that kind of stuff happens. Yeah. And we love enthusiastic fans, but that kind of stuff happens too, right? And it would be disingenuous to suggest otherwise. Oh, I had another favorite, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed the Fantasy Gather that's put on by the Fantasy Literature Track. That was such a good time this year. Yeah.
Siska did an amazing job of organizing that.
Yeah. Well, and her whole staff, right? Like,
killed it.
Yeah, there were so many volunteers on site. They were so well organized. Like, we walked in. So this isn't the first year they've done it. In fact, I think I was part of it the first year they did it before I went to Japan. But I do remember last year they were in a much smaller room, and it ended up, it was so well attended. I think they were a little surprised at how popular it was. So this year they got a bigger room. It was actually the whole international ballroom. So it was 2 ballrooms with the air wall opened, and they had the tables set out, and they had all of the tables like assigned who you were sharing a table with. And so the concept of the Fantasy Gather, or I think they just call it the Gather because it's not just fantasy, right? So the concept of the Gather is that it's an opportunity for guests and attending pros of the con to bring their books and sell them for a limited period of time during the show, and an opportunity to talk face to face to fans, and kind of make it a little bit more like what an author's alley would be like at a smaller convention. But DragonCon can't do that because it's so big. So they have this opportunity instead. And it's a great option for people who can't afford to get a table in the dealer's room, which, is also an amazing opportunity, but it is it's pretty expensive, so I know several indie authors who do that, but it is a significant outlay of cash on the front end, and the Gather is not, right? So it's phenomenal that Siska and her staff kind of recognized that need and put this event together. And it, like I said, it was so well organized this year. We walked in, we found a staff member, they had our table assignments ready, we set up, they welcomed the people in, that people were circulating, and they knew what it was for, so they came to buy books, which was great. So yeah. Also, can I just say, I really benefited from author Mark Eidelheit I think I'm saying his last name right. It's Edelheit or Eidelheit. But he is an indie author, very popular. And I got so lucky to be next to him because he was giving away free books next to me, and we were up on the stage. So we were able to be like, hey guys, free books on the stage. And he, people would come up and get the free books, and I'd be like, okay, now let me tell you about the books I'd love to sell to you. You know what I mean? Like, it worked so well. I was so grateful. I was like, dude, I will be next to you anytime. That was amazing.
Such a good day too.
Yeah. And you were right by the door.
Yep. Yeah.
I
was selling with Bill Fawcett and Casey Morris, because Bill Fawcett had the Blood and Armor series, and both Casey and I are co-authors in that series. So we had the spot right by the door. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I really loved about the gathering, and this ties into the power of friendship, y'all, it was like, oh, you like urban fantasy. Well, you definitely want to go talk with John R. Osborne over like right across from me there with H.Y. Gregor and David Shadoin. You want to go talk with Mel Todd. She's right over there. You want to talk with Joelle Brizes or Darren Kennedy. You like space opera? Holy crap. You see that awesome lady on the stage with the freaking tiara that was just like fire and the like, go talk with Casey Azell. Awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
That was another thing I got lucky with. They had like a spotlight shining on the stage, and I happened to be wearing my tiara, and it would like glint in the light and just really catch people's eyes. So I wish I could say I planned it that way, but that was totally a happy accident.
And my personal favorite, of course, was, oh, you like snarky stuff? Let me tell you about Marisa Wolf and her snarky sci-fi book Beyond Enemies, or her snarky urban fantasy Valkyrie's Chosen. Go up to the stage.
Yeah. That's a really good point. By networking and knowing the other authors and kind of like what their style is and what they were into, I think, because I know we did a lot of that too, right? And I know Mel Todd did a lot of that kind of stuff too, where we were able to be like, oh, you're into this kind of stuff, go talk to this guy. And so it was sort of like almost like a scavenger hunt for the readers, right? It's like, okay, I got what you like. I know what you like. You need to go talk to this person. You need to go talk to that person, kind of sending them around the room. Yeah, so, that's a really good point.
It was a very good teamwork moment, because so much of this is teamwork, really.
Right.
Yes, you can't do this on your own, and it's absolutely possible, but it's so much more fun and a lot easier when you have, go to cons, build up your support network, make friends, make genuine friends. Holy crap. The friends that I made in the past couple of years alone, like Casey said at the beginning, we reconnected because of this. Like, we lost track of each other. And it's been amazing just for my friendship network that it's one of the biggest benefits that I got out of writing so far, is just those friends I've made. It's a real treasure, you guys.
It was the real magic all along.
Corny, but true.
But true. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, let's see. A couple of other things that happened, that we should probably talk about. So I got a countersigned contract this year at DragonCon. So so I'm finally able to announce that my Sword and Sorcery adventure fantasy, known working titles Mage Light. Actually, I think that's probably going to be the final title. Will be coming out from Bane Books sometime next summer. So it was great because Tony called me up during the Bane Roadshow. So if you're unfamiliar, the Bane Traveling Prize Patrol and Roadshow is it's an event that Bane puts on at multiple cons, not just DragonCon, but the DragonCon one is usually one of the bigger ones. And they give free books to first timers, which they had a lot of first timers this year. I think that's the most. Yeah, I think that's the most first timers I'd seen at DragonCon in a really long time. So that was really cool because they took all the books, but like 2 of them. Which is great, right? Because that's what the free books are for. So it's an opportunity to find out like what's coming out in the next year, to see the gorgeous cover art, and not just like the cover comp, but like the full art piece. Like, because I don't know if you guys know this, but like this is not a Bane book, but this is just an example. This cover art, like it wraps all the way around, right? So when Chris Kennedy Publishing or when Bane commissions a cover piece from an artist, they do a full art piece.
Yep.
And so the roadshow is an opportunity to kind of like see those art pieces. And it's a lot of fun. And she had called me up to talk about the 1919 Romanov Rising, which is the alternate history that I wrote with Tom Kratman and Justin Watson that will be coming out in December. And then when I was up there, she was like, and Casey, do we have something else? And I was like, we do. And so it was really fun because I was able to like give her the contract that that she'd sent me that I had signed, and then she signed it. And it was like, and I had on my, my crush cap because I was writing military alternate history. I took the crush cap off and I put on a tiara because that's my fantasy hat.
It was one of my favorite parts.
It was a little bit silly and a little bit campy, but so was DragonCon. So here we go.
It was perfect because when we were getting ready for like the Bain Roadshow, and just for the day, Casey was like, "Which hat do I wear?" And we're like, "Well, you gotta wear the crush cap," and then we're like, "Why not both? Why not?"
Yeah.
Switch? And it was so perfect, and it was one of my. I'm sitting in the audience going, "Ah!" Like a total geek. It was amazing. I loved it so much.
Well, thank you for your support on that. So,
yeah.
So look for Mage Light in September of 25. Yeah.
In case you're wondering, the audience for that book is me. And it's just like me because I have read this thing twice, and somehow I loved it more every time I read it. So yes, I am very much going, okay, everybody needs to buy this book because I need a sequel. So let's make this deal.
Yeah. I mean, same, right? Like I am also the audience for it. That's why I wrote it, right? Because I always write books that I want to read. So
I'd love to read.
What else? What other favorite moments did you have?
So okay, let's talk about this because Charlie Cox, one of our, she's a newer author for CKP and a friend of ours, and she mentioned this on Facebook the other day about like one of those moments of growth where she at like a kid's football game or practice that she had where she mentioned I'm also an author, and then she talked with somebody about what she wrote. That is something that takes practice, right?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite professional moments was a relatively small one. But it was, I made a line buddy. So at DragonCon, you make elevator friends and you make line friends because there are wait times and you just talk with people. You make new friends. And we were waiting for the Ilona and Gordon Andrews, their Q&A session. So we just talked, why are you here? Where are you from? All that kind of stuff. And, mention I'm here because I'm an author and this is, me and my friends do this now instead of just being there as a fan. I took time to be a fan though to go to that panel because fantasy. Yeah. Anyways, so we hung out for the line. We sat next to each other during the panel, and then at the end, when the book devouring horde like rushed to the front to like try and say hi to Ilona and Gordon Andrews, she turned to me and she's like, "Okay, so tell me what you write." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll tell you what I write." So I'm like, "This is what I've got. I've got like space opera, mill sci-fi." She asked for my card. I gave her my card, and I'm like, "And since you're here, I'm going to guess you like urban fantasy. Let me tell you about what I've got coming out in 2 weeks." So it was a really cool moment of like just getting to connect with somebody that likes the same books that I do, and to have her show that interest was very cool. Like small but also significant of being able to talk about being an author and the things I write without embarrassment, because when you're starting out, I think that's a little normal to go, "Yeah, I'm an author. I write things that are cool. I hope you like them."
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think that takes practice. It does.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So what was one of your favorite moments professionally outside of the awesome? Here's my contract for this awesome fantasy adventure fantasy book.
Oh my gosh, I had one, and now it's like out of my head. Let me tell you about a personal favorite instead.
Yes.
Is that okay? So I am 47 years old. In March, I will be 48. And you know where I'm going with this one. And one of the things that is a tradition at DragonCon, they do it every year, is there's a band called Cruise Shadows that if I'm honest, I don't ever listen to you outside of DragonCon, but every night or every Sunday night at DragonCon, they have a free concert, and it usually starts at about, it's scheduled to start at about 1
In the morning.
and in the morning, right? And it's like the last thing of the night, except for the all-night dance party that goes on over in the adjoining hotel, the Marriott. So the concert's in the Hyatt, which is next door to, so it's the Hyatt Regency, and then the all-night rave is in the Marriott Marquis, which is next door. And so this year, I particularly wanted to go to the Cruise Shadow show this year because this year we lost a good friend of mine, a guy by the name of Jack, and he was a huge Cruise Shadows fan. And so, you know, a bunch of us who were friends of his, we all wanted to go and kind of, you know, in his memory and enjoy the show. And it was actually really cool because the band knew him because he was such a huge super fan, and they paid tribute to him in the show, and it was amazing. I might have cried like you know, ugly cried just a little bit, but it was great. You know, it was a very touching moment. The show was phenomenal as always. You know, they always do this big theatrical thing with, you know, the lights and the it was awesome. It was a great time. So I convinced our friends Shady, David Shadoin, and Haley H. White Gregor to go to Cruise Shadows concert. I don't know if I convinced them or I was just like, hey, we're gonna do this. You want to go?
And they were like,
so
yes.
And they were, right? Like they're down to clown, right? So we went over there, and we did the concert, and it was great. We danced. Oh, it was so funny. So one of the traditions is that at the end of the show, the last song, people go and get up on the stage. Well, we were like right in line, and I was next, and the bouncer, or I don't know if he was bouncer or security, but he came up and he was like, no. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, I won't get up there. Apparently, if I was going to be the straw that was going to break the camel's back.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad. I was like, okay, dude. I'm sorry. It was like a disproportionately violent response. I mean, not violent, like he didn't strike me or anything, but disproportionately vehement response, right? And I was like, okay, bro, like
bring it down just a little bit, man.
Cool. I won't get up there. It's fine. Like, you know, but yeah. But the show was phenomenal anyway. So afterwards, we're like, all right, let's go over to the rave, right? And we go over to the rave, and we find a friend of Haley's. I can't remember his name, but and we're dancing, and I look at Shady at one point, and I was like, bro, we're not going back to the hotel until the sun is up. And he was like, okay. he looked up sunrise. Like at that point, it was probably, so the concert went on until like 3. At that point, it was probably like 3:30. He looked up on his phone. No, it was like 4, I think, when I said that. He looked on his phone, and sunrise was 7:30. And he showed it to me. He's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude. We're raging till dawn. Rage till dawn." Mostly to prove that I could still.
You're as good once.
Because I'm as good once as I ever was. Yeah. So viewers who get my mailing list, I sent out my weekly newsletter like today, and it has like a super blurry video of the 3 of us that I took like I was just like click, you know, a little selfie, just to be like, I did it. I was there, but we shut the rave down. And then after that, it was only like 6:30. So we're like, I'm hungry. So we went over to the Metro City Cafe and got breakfast. And then by that time it was 7:30.
Like midnight.
Right, which we had eaten at before going to the concert for our late dinner. Yeah. So we had breakfast, and then we went back to the hotel. By the time I got back to the hotel, it was 8 a.m. And I looked at my phone, and I had walked 18,000 steps since midnight because it rolls over at midnight because it was now Monday morning. Yeah. So, yeah. Big thanks to Leah, whose last name I won't say on here because she's not an author, but big thanks to Leah for making sure I was up and ready to go for my signing at noon the next day, because I don't think I would have made it without her. but I did it. I'm as good once as I ever was.
Oh man, because the three of us, me, Casey, and Melissa Wolf, we were all sharing a room because
Right.
sleepovers are the best.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And we both woke up like at various points, like early in the morning. We're like, not back yet. Okay, Rage, she's still alive. It's fine. And she came in, we're like, good job.
At one point in the middle of the morning, like in the wee hours of the morning, I texted Marisa. I was like, hey, in case you're wondering, I'm safe. I'm with Shaylee and Haiti. We're raging till dawn. Just so you guys didn't worry.
Right? Like we check in with each other, like, I'm safe. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not alone. I'm with friends. So yeah. It was a great time. It was a great time. My feet, I thought, would never forgive me, but I wore different boots the next day and it was fine. So
yeah, it was a lot of walking, even without the rave dancing. Like,
yeah.
props. Holy crap.
Thanks. I probably won't do it again next year, but I probably will do it the year I turn 50.
All right, I'm in.
So okay. I was gonna say train now.
Train
now. Rage till dawn, man. It's a thing. Whew. Oh man. All right. So we've been talking for not quite an hour. Last thoughts on DragonCon?
DragonCon is a
Let's do this. Last thoughts on DragonCon 2024, and then last thoughts on DragonCon in general.
Okay. Last thoughts for 2024. I met some freaking cool people. I ate some awesome food, and I had an absolute. Well, I got to meet Orson Scott Card, and I didn't make a fool of myself.
Congratulations!
Right?
Like, I know, I'm super jealous.
This is Scott. I'm like, oh, Orson Scott Card. I'm like, nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So
that's awesome.
And you just never know. Like, you're gonna turn around and like, oh, there's this super cool person. Like Shady met Seth Green, right? Like, just okay. So personally, professionally, DragonCon this year was absolutely worth the time, the money, the investment of all the things. And huge shout out to my husband for making it possible for me to go, because he's amazing and took care of the kids because they're young enough. DragonCon is not something I would bring them to. So
yeah, people do bring their kids to DragonCon. I choose not to, in large part because, for those of you in the audience who don't know this, DragonCon is kind of like when my husband and I do our grown-up vacations so that we can act like obnoxious teenagers and make out in the hallways and other ridiculousness like that. So I'm really into him. He's super hot. So yeah. But what about thoughts on DragonCon overall?
DragonCon overall, it does not matter, since we've, I've been there as a fan. I've been there as a pro, and they're very different experiences, but holy crap, guys, I guarantee you, like, if you'll find something, a lot of some things that are for you, whether it's as a fan or if you're an author and you're wondering if DragonCon is worth the expense. In my opinion, I think it is. I think, find your tribe, find some people, make new friends. I think it's worth going. I think it's a blast. It is a 5-day Halloween party with 80,000 of your, closest friends. So
closest friends. Yeah.
I plan to go every year I can.
Yeah, fully agree. Same here. Any lessons learned from this year that you would apply to next year?
Really, my feet are still hurting, so I am really glad that I brought some comfy tennis shoes, and I will probably wear those a little bit more next year. But lessons learned is definitely make sure you eat, make sure you hydrate, and always keep some ibuprofen in your purse, pocket, whatever.
Oh my God,
you have.
Yeah, we did, man. We were like the ibuprofen pushing crew. All of us were like, "Hey, have you got some stuff?
Yeah, you got. Okay.
Have you got the good stuff? Like, yeah, I've got Advil right here, bro.
You got goodies. Oh my God! Like, we went from we had a whole bar lined up with all the booze back in the day, and now it's like, all right, I got my vitamins here. We got a here.
Yeah, got my airborne. I've got my Hashtag old ladies.
This is why we don't do time math. But you know what? We still pushed it up. We still had fun. So lessons learned, comfy shoes, prescription, or over-the-counter drugs.
Yeah.
Your choice.
Yeah. The appropriate ones.
And
no judgment.
The appropriate, right? No judgment. Not here to judge anything. But also, I think the group chat, the text message chain that we have going on, we build those for whoever of our group of extended friends and family that are going to be there. We build a text message chain for the event so people can just drop in there like, hey, y'all, I'm starving. I want to go to the food court. Anybody in? If I'll be there. Come find me. It's a great way to let people know where you're going to be without trying to organize a massive herd of cats, because there's no way. There's no way to do it.
Yeah.
But it helps keep us track of each other.
Yeah, I think that's a perennial lesson learned for me, is that we know so many people, and the group of us, of our friends that ends up going, and tends to be so large that I really have to tamp down on my instinct to try and organize things, and just be like, this is what I'm doing. You're welcome to come along if it's convenient for you. If not, I'll catch you another time. Because DragonCon is not the place to try and do a 20-person dinner reservation or whatever. It's so hard, and people are going in so many different directions at once. And it can get rough if you try to do that. But if you're just sort of going with the flow and being like, I'm going to do this here, and understand that sometimes that may mean you got to go get lunch by yourself because all your friends are off at their various panels and this is the only time you have. That's okay. Yep. It's DragonCon. Make a new friend. I promise it'll happen.
Like, hey, can I sit at your table because you've got a couple of seats empty? All right, what are you here for? And then you just make new friends.
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah. We that happened more than once this weekend. More than once. So
it really did.
All right. Well, like I said, we've been talking for about an hour, so we could probably wrap this up. But real quick, Melissa, tell my viewers where they can find you, and tell us about this. You mentioned a new release.
I did.
What, pray tell, is that?
You can find me at melissaolthoff.net. On my list of things to do is to get the .com, so I too can go both ways. But for now, melissaolthoff.net, my website. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter. Unfortunately, I discovered Instagram and doom scrolling, which is amazing, but time sucks. So I am all the places. I will also be at Deep South Con in Helen, Georgia, during Oktoberfest with Marisa Wolf and Mel Todd. And
that'll be a blast.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So in about 15 days, so it'll be a little over 2 weeks, I have the second book in the Valkyrie's Hit World series coming out. It's called Shadows May Fall, and it is 100% urban fantasy romance. Slow burn, enemies to lovers, my favorite. And it's
remember earlier how you said, I'm the audience? Yeah, it's me. Hi, I'm the audience. It's me.
It is the third novel I ever wrote, but because of how publishing sometimes works, it's going to be my 9th published. And boy, can I tell it was the third novel I ever wrote when I was editing. It was a great exercise in how far I've come, and oh no.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, awesome. And the pre-order link is live now, right?
It is. Pre-order link is live. It's on my website, and I'll send you a copy after this.
Thank you. Yes, please do. The link will also be in the description of this video, along with links to Melissa's website and socials, so that you can find her and check her out. And with that, my friends, thank you for joining us for this peek into our DragonCon 2024 after action report. Thanks to Melissa Olthoff for coming. Thanks to DragonCon and all of the volunteers and staff for putting on a phenomenal show, as always. And if you like this video, please give it a like, give me that Chuck Yeager thumbs up, and leave me a comment. Let me know if you've ever been to DragonCon, what your favorite piece of it is, or if you'd ever like to go to DragonCon, or if you're like, hell no, I will stay away from those crowds. Thank you so much. Let me know that too, but let's keep it as positive as we can. Okay, guys. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Casey Zell, and this is my writer life. See ya. Now I got to hit the end record.